everybody, welcome back. It is Aaron with Robert, and we are here with one of our segments. Cereal is a soup, which it is, even if he says no.
It's not.
It's still a soup.
It's
in a bowl.
Yeah.
And we're not.
Lots of things are in bowls.
And it has a liquid.
You can put yogurt in a bowl. That's not a soup.
But then you put milk in it?
Well, yogurt has milk in it. That doesn't make it a soup.
Well, it's not a soup then.
Exactly.
But cereal is a soup.
No,
because I
it's
have
not.
liquid with something in it to eat.
But you can also eat cereal without a bowl and without milk.
No, you can't. Then it's just food.
Cheerios in a baggie. People, that's a snack all the time. Anyways, this is the segment where one of us says a controversial opinion and the other one usually says you're wrong and maybe you're dumb. Sometimes we agree on our controversial opinions. So this week you have the controversial opinion and I don't know what it is.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to seeing whether I agree or whether I think you're totally wrong.
So, we're going to take us back to early 2000s.
Okay.
To a web slinger who swings around saving the day. Name is...
Do I want pictures of him?
No. You're not J. Jonah Jameson right now.
Okay.
You don't need it.
All right.
You don't own the Daily Bugle. But you can get it. And so we have Tobey Maguire.
Yep.
With Kristen Dunst.
Yep.
As our Mary Jane.
Kirsten Dunst, yep.
And bam, we have our amazing duo. You know, fast forwarding a little bit to Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, right? I believe played Gwen Stacy.
Correct. Yeah.
And we have Spider-Man still swinging around, saving the day, but instead of Mary Jane, we go with the original love of his life with Gwen Stacy.
Correct.
Fast forward to now, we have
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland and
Zendaya.
Yeah.
As
MJ.
Michelle Jones, I believe is her name in the MCU.
Call her.
Pretty sure.
Not my Mary Jane.
Pretty sure.
So we have them two, and we start off as a younger couple.
Okay.
I think out of the couple aspect of all the movies, not the storylines or anything else, Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are the best.
Yes.
Really?
Clearly.
I really didn't think you were going to agree.
No, it's not even close.
So, there we go. Okay, we're done. All right, no, so my thing, and this is what I want to kind of go with. I didn't know if you were going to agree or not. But I believe the yes, I think all of us agree the second movie, Amazing Spider-Man, was not great.
Oh, it's awful.
It was terrible.
And even the first one is in the middle of Spider-Man movies. It's not the best.
Yes.
I know you like it more than I think the first Tobey Maguire or the first Tom Holland. I am not on that same train with you. I think, if I had to rank all of the Spider-Man movies, both Tom Holland movies are going to be above either one from Andrew Garfield. And I think the first two Tobey Maguires are above either of the Andrew Garfield ones. I think that the first Amazing Spider-Man comes in after those four, so that would place it fifth. And then probably I would go with Spider-Man 3, the Tobey Maguire one, over the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I almost would agree with that,
but those are both terrible. Yeah. So
they're both at number 15 and 26 or something like that.
They're both terrible.
But so we're not going to look at the movies. Okay. I just want to look at the relationships. I really believe Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield sold the relationship, sold the awkwardness. I mean, I know you said, you feel like Andrew Garfield played too much of maybe a punk kind of kid versus the scientist. Yeah. But the love story, I think he was real fun with the goofy, very awkward with Emma Stone, which is a Peter Parker quality. Yeah. Being awkward, talking to the beautiful woman in the room kind of thing. And I like that Emma Stone didn't play our typical female character. She was working for scientists. She was essentially very intelligent.
I think the best decision they made in those movies is that she kind of figured it out even before he told her.
Exactly.
Which they also do that in the Tom Holland one, not so much in the Tobey Maguire one. You don't get the sense that MJ was figuring out who Peter was before he actually reveals himself. But certainly in the latter two ones. And I think that's an important thing to do. It's something that they also did with Lois Lane in Man of Steel, where Amy Adams figures out, guess what, you're Superman.
Yeah.
And so I think that is something that's important to do because it gives that character more depth. It gives them more agency. Yeah. I 100% agree. I think that Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst are both good actors.
Yes. I'll give them that.
But I never really got a huge amount of chemistry from them. And those were, early 2000s is very damsel in distress kind of thing. MJ wasn't really a character in those movies so much as she was an object. She was someone that Peter constantly had to save, or there was always something going on with their relationship that was causing him to question his activities as Spider-Man. So it was always just more of a plot point than anything else. And so even though I think they were good actors, their love story was always just kind of used as something to drive the story forward for Peter. And so that wasn't my favorite. And I know you're really not a big fan of Zendaya and that storyline. Don't get me wrong,
I love the characters. It's not anything to do with who they are. It's just, I love my redheaded MJ, the beautiful supermodel kind of woman. And
I totally understand that. I do think that is a competitor for the Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. I think that because Tom Holland and Zendaya, I think they are both super talented, and I think that their scenes of awkwardness as they're trying to even in the first one, it's kind of like we're awkward friends, and she's kind of like, well, what are you doing? Why are you being so weird? I'm just messing with you. I don't care. Yeah. Like that. I think that type of it works, and then building on that in the second movie where you can tell they kind of both like each other, but they're still super awkward around one another, building all the way to the moment where, he's about to tell her that he really cares about her, and she's like, "You're Spider-Man," but she's also not 100% sure, and then of course they reveal that yes, he is Spider-Man, and they have that whole interaction. I think that all works, and I do think that their awkwardness and awkward romantic relationship does work. I know that's not the MJ you want, but I think it works for the movie that it's in, and I think that they are very good, but I think it's really no contest. I think Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, both Oscar nominated. They're both fantastic at what they do. I think the storyline that is being told in those movies is there and highlighting their relationship. I mean, the first movie is so much about Peter Parker and having to balance his relationship as Spider-Man with his relationship with Gwen, and you get that scene with Gwen Stacy's dad at the end where he's telling Peter, "You cannot date my daughter," and I think it just works really well. And I think that their chemistry in both of those first two movies is off the charts. It's the best part of those movies, very easily. And so as an on-screen couple, I 100% agree. Ooh. Out of the Peter Parker love interests that we've gotten, those two, it's very easy. And
I agree 100%. That's what I was going to bring up. You kind of hit everything I wanted to say, actually. So, I mean,
I didn't even prepare for this argument.
Because we were going to talk about something else, and I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to switch to this other one. And I agree. Kristen Dunst, I don't know if I like her acting. She's a good actress, I'll say that.
Her acting in those movies is not great. She is actually a really talented actress.
Oh, yeah. And I love her in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. She's one of my favorite characters in that movie.
And I think, I go to season 2 of Fargo. Ooh. She's incredible in that show. She's also really great in an older movie, Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Yes. I forgot about that one.
She's really great in that. So she is a very talented actress.
So I don't ever blame her or even Tobey Maguire for what they had to do. I mean, this was, like you said, very early 2000, the woman has to be the damsel in distress. She has to be saved, and you don't get any power plays from her. You don't get her as I'm the supermodel, and it's my acting career is still kind of taken off, and then you get it was in the second one where she's at the play that he misses the time because of being Spider-Man. Yeah, second or third one, I can't remember now. Bless you.
Apologies.
And so you have that part where it's okay, she's making her career, she's getting there, and you're still having the Peter who's living in a hole in the wall. Yeah.
And then the third one, she's dating J. Jonah Jameson's son, and she's going to get married to him. And again, the story is all about him chasing after her and trying to. It's just.
But then you get the Gwen Stacy thing coming in, which was dancing Peter. Emo Parker, whatever.
Bryce Dallas Howard, another incredibly talented actress, in a completely wasted role in a bad storyline.
And again, that didn't push their relationship. It didn't, we get we broke up, and all of a sudden I'm just J. Jonah Jameson's son, or J. Jonah Jameson Jr., and I'm going to marry him. It's like, well, that was quick.
And then you have like revenge dating by Peter Parker,
yeah,
where he like
which is nothing.
takes Gwen Stacy to the club that she works at, and it's so bad.
And for me, that part, it's like, okay, you were supposed to be really big in this play. You should have made it. This was your big break, and now you're a waitress again at this
jazz club.
Yeah, like where's the supermodel side? Where's this like in the comics? She's a strong female woman. She's a business owner.
You complain about Zendaya not being the MJ you wanted. Neither is Kristen.
No, Kristen does.
They gave you the look, but they did not give you the character.
Oh yeah, they gave me the look. They gave me some of the cuteness from her, which is an MJ quality, which I love. Like watching them now, I don't like them. But when I first saw it, I was like, oh, there's my MJ, my redhead. I love this. This is
as soon as she says, "Go get him, Tiger," you're like, oh, it's MJ.
Yeah, it's like yes. And then it's like rewatching him, or the second and third film, it's like, oh, this isn't. Oh god. Yeah. So I want my.
They
MJ.
wasted that potential.
They did. It could have gone really well, and like you said, if they wouldn't make her the damsel in distress, it would have gone to places that I think would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But again, we're making her damsel in distress. We're making her an object of affection.
Yeah.
We're objectifying her in that sense, which I don't agree with. And it's like, no, like Peter loved her for her personality, how a strong woman, a woman who, even though she knows he's Spider-Man, still has his back and doesn't push off like, don't be Spider-Man anymore. Right. You should be Spider-Man. I'll accept the responsibility and the burden of staying awake at night. Are you coming home? And I understand I have to be that strong person.
And you know this probably better than I do, being so steeped in Spider-Man, but Gwen Stacy came first.
Yes.
Right? And the death of Gwen Stacy messed Peter up.
It messed with him. Oh, right? My God, yes.
And so MJ was the woman that finally pulled him out of that and allowed him to be Spider-Man and also have the relationship without guilt.
Exactly.
Because he always felt that guilt over Gwen Stacy dying. He felt like that was partially because he was Spider-Man.
Yes.
And he put her in that situation. And so he didn't want to pursue relationships because he wanted to protect people. And so he kind of walled himself off, became a loner. And MJ was the character who, as you said, was a very strong character to pull him out of that, allow him to still have a relationship, but understand, yes, you are Spider-Man and you need to do this, and I support that. It's almost like, okay, in the Avengers, in Age of Ultron, when Hawkeye goes back to the farm and he's got his wife and she's like, I support your avenging. Yeah. And it's like that kind of like, I will support this. And you think of like a real world parallel, like, first responders, like firefighters, police officers, and their wives or their husbands, because they, of course, can be.
Exactly. Their significant other.
Yeah, is, having to be at home, and when they go on their shift, you don't know, right? Like, you have to, live with, is that person going to come home tonight? My wife doesn't have that. Yes. I work at a call center.
Exactly. I work in an office.
Jobs. I work in an office job. It's not the same mentality that you have to have. And so portraying that, in the comics or the movies of a character who, understands that the job you're doing is very important. I want you to do it. I support you in doing it. It doesn't mean I'm not going to have anxiety or worry about you, but I'm not going to let that stand in the way of the job that you're doing.
Exactly.
And so if they had told that story with MJ,
I would have been on board. 100%.
Kirsten Dunst, I think, and Tobey Maguire could have pulled that off, but that's not the story they told.
No.
And so we have to look at what we were given, and in comparison to the storyline we get with Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone as Peter and Gwen, it doesn't compare. I think that storyline is so much better.
And I'm going to touch on this because you said it. You're right. MJ supports him. There's two scenes from the comics I love. There's Spider-Man Blue, which is a more recent one, which is almost the retelling of the Gwen Stacy storyline of what happened that day. Peter essentially talks to a tape recorder in his way to talk to Gwen Stacy. He knows she's been dead for a long time. Peter and MJ have been dating. I don't know if they're married at this point, but they are dating, and they live together. And he's talking. He's telling like, "Hey, this is what I've been up to. I remember the bridge scene with the goblin. Blah blah blah." The whole story, and I'm not going to bore you with the details, but the very end of it, MJ notices Peter talking to this tape recorder, and her comment she knows, essentially, she is not Peter's first love, and she respects that.
Sure.
She knows that he is not, and she looks at Peter and says, "Tell Gwen I said hi," as she walks away to let Peter have his privacy. That was the moment I was sold on MJ right there, because as a woman, she understood that maybe I'm not his number one. I mean, I'm number one now because he loves me, he protects me, he'll die for me, kind of thing. You know, he's there for me. But I was never his first love, and he needs to cope with this somehow. Yeah. And this is how he copes with it. Sure. And I am okay with this coping mechanism. It's a healthy one. He's not, doing all this stuff. And MJ has commented before in the past of, why don't you put stuff in your web shooters to let you know when your webs run out, blah, blah, blah. Like, she comments on all this, and I think this was the moment she realizes he still holds on to Gwen's death. He still holds to this. Sure. And some people believe, if you read the comics and go deep into it, that maybe Spider-Man does have a death wish because of he blames himself. But that's one scene I love. Mm-hmm. And then going back even further, I believe it was in the 80s or 90s, probably not 90s because of the art style from what I remember. Peter's crying. Peter's, he's torn up about something. I can't remember exactly what happened.
A lot of bad stuff happens to Peter, so it can be a number of things.
Which one died this week, kind of thing. And so this is also why I like Peter Parker, because he is very in tune with his, he understands he can cry, he could do this. Yeah. And he's had other women like Betty Brant and other girls who've come around where it's just like, oh, you're too busy, kind of go away, you're in your own self or whatever the case is. Yep. And MJ comes in and she's like, what's wrong, whatever. And I'm not going to lie, Peter's being a jerk. Like, go away, I don't need anybody. Because like you said, he's walled up now. Sure. He's like, no, I don't need anybody. I don't want anyone around. I don't want someone else to get hurt. I don't, Uncle Ben's died, Gwen's died. These people have died I couldn't save or whatever. Right. And she walks to the door. And as she walks to the door, she opens it and he's crying. He's angry. He's everything. Yeah. And she slams the door, but stays inside and goes and puts her arm around him and hugs him and lets him know, you can push me away, but I'm still here. And that is what I believe is that strong female character. That's when it comes out. It's like almost letting Peter know it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be angry with these things. But you have someone here who could share the burden of the world with you. Yeah. And I'm willing to be that woman. Later on, now fast forwarding into early 2020s, I'll say, because I think it was like 2017, 2018. She's still trying to understand, like, they're trying to see if they want to date again because they haven't been dating for a while. And she still has that burden of, is he coming home at night? Yeah. And then we find Jarvis has... he's alive. He's a human, not the AI. So in the comics, it's Jarvis the butler. Correct. Has put together a group, almost kind of like a not AA meeting, but where people can share. Support group. Yeah, support group. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And he's like, come join it. It's all completely anonymous. They have Stark Tech to help hide the faces. They have magic from Doctor Strange to help keep names secretive, so no one accidentally says, "Oh, it's Peter Parker, Spider-Man." Okay. None of that. And then they kind of do like not a forget-me-not kind of thing, but a little way to make sure that no one remembers fully what's being said. Okay. And she joins a support group, and she's able herself finally to let go of some of the burden by talking to other people who's like there's a guy who's basically talks about his gay husband is a superhero, and it's like, oh my god, like that's kind of cool. You talk about it, and you get another aspect of everything. He talks about how he worries. MJ stays silent for most of the whole thing, but Jarvis knows MJ. I think that he doesn't know that it's Spider-Man, but he knows it is a superhero. Yeah. And Jarvis tells her, you're the oldest one who's almost been dealing with this for years. Some of these guys are just barely dealing with it, and we would love to hear your stories. Yeah. And MJ finally opens up. And I feel like that almost makes her a complete character now, because we had the strong female woman who over time has kind of cracked and broken a little bit because it's tough. But now she got that support, and it's almost coming back around that she is a full character now. Yeah. And I love that, and we don't get that ever in the Tobey Maguire films.
And that's the type of thing that you can do in long-form storytelling, in comics and things like that. And so I understand that the job that they were doing with those early Spider-Man films is they were making action comic book movies when those weren't really a big thing. Exactly. I mean, we had the X-Men movies, we'd had Blade, but the MCU...
No one had a relationship in those, really,
no. And so, they were trying something different. They were trying to give us... a action story balanced with, kind of that old Spider-Man balancing Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's the typical storyline. Yeah.
And I think they did a pretty good job of telling those stories, but MJ did get kind of left on the side. So, and I think... getting back to the crux of this Cereal is a Soup is that Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, the story they were telling... They do a great job. I think that there's still potential for Tom Holland and Zendaya to get there in their future movies. Because they could go down that road that we've been talking about, where we have an MJ who's a more complex character, who is supportive but also worried, but also, like all of those things. We could have that, of course. She's not going to ever be the comics MJ
that
you're familiar with, but they could still tell that strong female character. They could still do that, and so we'll see if down the road, if we still feel that Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are the best. But I think for sure now, this is a official GYGO. Put your stamp on it.
Right here. They're the best.
They're the best couple of Peter Parker.
And like you said, maybe they could do it with the Tom Holland and I'm never trying to name it. I already messed it up. Zendaya. Because I want to add an L for some reason. So Zendaya and Tom, I don't know if they can go there with those characters like Andrew and Gwen, because in that one, he had Captain Stacy's death to help him out a little bit and get that Peter that needs that morale compass. There's no Gwen Stacy right now in the current universe. So can MJ do it?
We'll see what happens.
I don't know.
But anyways, so this has been Cereal as a Soup. We always want to know, do you agree or disagree with our controversial opinion? Is this one all that controversial? I don't know. I feel like if people are talking about those Andrew Garfield movies, the thing they are clinging to is Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone.
But then, maybe, you got a whole generation who likes Tom Holland.
Yeah, I mean, so let us know, is this the best Peter Parker on-screen love romantic relationship, or is it one of the other ones? Maybe you prefer the Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst. Maybe you think that Tom Holland and Zendaya are the best. Maybe you even go to the first movie, Tom Holland and the character that was Liz. I don't remember the actress's name.
Oh gosh, yeah, I forgot about her too.
Maybe that's your favorite Peter Parker romantic relationship. Comment down below, of course, for Get Your Geek On. I'm Robert, that's Aaron. This has been Cereal as a Soup. We'll see you next week.